Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something tonight that can change your life if you let it sink in. We're standing at the door of 2026, and what you do next will not be decided by luck, talent, or who you know. It will be decided by what you do every single day, even when nobody is watching. People always ask me, Steve, what's the secret? And I tell them, there is no secret. There are habits, small things you do consistently that turn ordinary people into unstoppable people. See, most folks want big results with small effort. They want success without sacrifice, growth without discomfort. But life doesn't work like that. God doesn't reward intentions. He rewards action. If you want 2026 to be different, you've got to do something different. You've got to wake up with purpose, move with discipline, and refuse to quit when it gets hard. Your habits are either building your future or stealing from it. And every day you get to choose which one wins. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something most people misunderstand, and that is this idea that motivation is what's going to carry you to success. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. You wake up one day fired up, ready to conquer the world, and the next day you don't even want to get out of bed. If your success depends on how you feel, then your future is unstable. That's why daily habits matter more than motivation ever will. Habits don't ask you how you feel. Habits don't care if you're tired, bored, or discouraged. Habits show up anyway. You see, motivation is like a match. It burns hot, but it burns out fast. Habits are like a furnace. You build them once, you feed them daily, and they keep you warm for life. Too many people wait to feel inspired before they act. They say, when I feel ready, I'll start. But the truth is, you feel ready after you start. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you do something consistently, even on the days you don't feel like it, confidence starts to grow. And once confidence grows, momentum follows. Every successful person you admire didn't wake up motivated every day. They woke up committed. Commitment is deeper than motivation. Commitment says, I'm doing this whether I feel like it or not. That's why habits are powerful. When something becomes a habit, you don't debate it anymore. You don't negotiate with yourself. You just do it. You brush your teeth without motivation. You show up to work without motivation. Imagine if working on your dream became that automatic. Imagine if discipline replaced hesitation. The problem for most people is they rely on excitement. Excitement fades when things get hard, when progress is slow, when nobody notices. But habits don't need applause. Habits grow quietly. They work in silence. And one day, people will look at your life and say, you're lucky, not knowing you've been paying the price every single day when no one was watching. That's how habits work. They build results behind the scenes. Let me tell you something important. Your brain loves habits. Once you repeat something enough times, your brain starts conserving energy by making it automatic. That means the first few days are the hardest. That's when motivation feels like it's gone. That's when excuses get loud. But if you push through that phase, if you stay consistent long enough, it gets easier. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Your habit took over. People say they want change, but they don't want routine. They don't want structure. But freedom comes from discipline. The more disciplined your habits are, the freer your future becomes. When you build daily habits around growth, learning, prayer, focus, and effort, you're not depending on moods anymore. You're depending on systems, and systems win every time. If you want 2026 to be different, don't chase motivation. Build habits. Wake up at the same time. Work on your goals even when it's uncomfortable. Feed your mind something positive every day. Do the hard thing before the easy thing. These small daily decisions don't feel powerful in the moment, but over time they separate average lives from extraordinary ones. Your habits are voting for the person you're becoming. Every day you either vote for discipline or delay, growth or comfort, progress or excuses. And when you stack enough of those right votes together, motivation becomes irrelevant. You won't need to feel inspired to win. Your habits will carry you there. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share something with you that can change the direction of your life if you truly understand it. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. People talk about dreams all the time, but dreams without discipline stay fantasies. You can pray for success, wish for change, and talk about your goals, but without discipline, nothing moves. Discipline is what makes you do what needs to be done, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's boring, even when nobody is watching. Most people avoid discipline because it feels restrictive. They think discipline means losing freedom, but the truth is the exact opposite. Discipline creates freedom. When you discipline your time, you gain more time. When you discipline your money, you gain peace. When you discipline your habits, you gain control over your life. The people who look the most free on the outside are usually the most disciplined on the inside. They made a decision early on that comfort would not control their future. Let me tell you something real. Discipline hurts at first. It requires you to say no to things that feel good right now so you can say yes to something better later. It means getting up early when your bed feels good. It means staying focused when distractions are everywhere. It means doing the work even when progress feels invisible. But that pain is temporary. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. And most people are not failing because they lack talent. They're failing because they refuse to be uncomfortable for a short period of time. Discipline is built in small moments, not big speeches. It's built when you choose to keep your word to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and you actually do it, your self-respect grows. And when self-respect grows, your confidence grows. You stop needing validation from other people because you trust yourself. That trust is powerful. Once you know you can rely on yourself, you become dangerous to mediocrity. People wait for discipline to feel natural, but it never does at the beginning. You have to force it before it forms you. You don't become disciplined by accident. You become disciplined by repetition. You do the hard thing so many times that it becomes normal. And once it becomes normal, it no longer feels hard. That's when people on the outside think you're gifted, when in reality, you're just consistent. Let's be honest. Distractions are everywhere in 2026. Phones, social media, opinions, noise. Discipline is the ability to stay focused in a world designed to keep you unfocused. It's the ability to say, this matters more, and act accordingly. If you don't control your attention, someone else will. And they'll use it to build their dreams instead of yours. When you choose discipline, you choose long-term victory over short-term pleasure. You choose growth over comfort. You choose purpose over popularity. And those choices made daily shape the person you become. You don't wake up one day successful. You wake up disciplined one day at a time, and success follows quietly behind you. I want you to understand this. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect. It's saying, my future matters too much for me to keep living carelessly. And when you embrace discipline, you stop needing motivation, you stop waiting for perfect conditions, and you stop making excuses. You start making progress. And progress, driven by discipline, is what separates unstoppable people from everyone else. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about consistency, because this is where most people lose the race even before it really begins. Everybody wants quick results. Everybody wants the breakthrough, the big moment, the overnight success. But what they don't want is the boring, repetitive work that happens day after day with no applause. Consistency is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It is the quiet force that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results over time. Most people start strong. They're excited, energized, and confident. The first few days they show up early, they work hard, and they feel good about themselves. But then life happens. Progress slows down. Results don't show up as fast as expected. That's when consistency is tested. Consistency is not about how you start. It's about how you continue when the excitement is gone. That's why consistency beats intensity every single time. You don't need to do something massive once in a while. You need to do something meaningful every single day. Small actions done daily may feel insignificant, but they compound. Just like interest in a bank account, your efforts grow when you stay consistent. Miss one day, and it may not seem like much, but miss many days, and suddenly you're far from where you wanted to be. Consistency is what keeps you connected to your goals, even when your emotions try to pull you away. Let me tell you this clearly: consistency builds trust. First, it builds trust with yourself. Every time you show up when you said you would, you prove to yourself that you can be relied on. That creates confidence. Second, It builds trust with life. Opportunities start showing up when you've shown life that you're serious. People want to help those who help themselves consistently, not occasionally. The reason consistency is so difficult is because it requires patience. And patience is something we struggle with in a world that wants everything instantly. We want instant likes, instant money, instant success. But real growth takes time. You may work for weeks or months and see nothing. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. Roots grow underground before anything appears above the surface. If you quit too early, you never get to see what was about to grow. Consistency also protects you on bad days. When you don't feel confident, your consistency carries you. When you feel tired, your routine carries you. When you feel doubtful, your commitment carries you. That's why consistency is stronger than talent. Talent without consistency creates frustration. Consistency without talent creates progress. And progress over time creates mastery. Some people say they're waiting for clarity before they stay consistent. But clarity comes from action, not waiting. You learn what works by showing up again and again. You adjust, you improve, you grow. But none of that happens if you keep stopping and starting. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means you don't quit. You might mess up. You might have a bad day. But you come back the next day and keep going. In 2026, distractions will try to pull you in 100 directions. Consistency is choosing one direction and staying with it long enough to see results. It's choosing discipline over drama, focus over feelings, and progress over excuses. And when you live like that, people will eventually call you unstoppable. Not because you were special, but because you refused to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that determines the height of your life more than your talent, more than your education, and more than your background. And that is what you allow into your mind every single day. Your mind is a powerful place, and whatever you feed it consistently will eventually show up in your actions, your decisions, and your results. If you let negativity live rent-free in your head, it will control your future without you even realizing it. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they think the wrong thoughts repeatedly. They wake up and replay doubts, fears, and past mistakes. They tell themselves what they can't do before they ever try. And over time, those thoughts become beliefs. Once something becomes a belief, it becomes your limit. That's why protecting your mindset is not optional if you want to become unstoppable in 2026. Let me be real with you. Your environment is constantly trying to program you. Social media, news, opinions, and even the people around you are feeding you information all day long. If you don't intentionally choose what goes into your mind, it will be filled by default with fear, comparison, and distraction. And you can't expect to live a focused, disciplined life with a distracted, negative mind. What you think about the most is what you move toward. If you think about failure all day, you'll hesitate. If you think about limitations, you'll play small. But if you think about growth, discipline, and purpose, your actions start to line up with those thoughts. That's why daily mental input matters. Reading something positive, listening to something uplifting, spending time in prayer or reflection, these are not extras. They are maintenance for your mind. People underestimate the power of self-talk. The voice you listen to the most is your own. And if that voice is constantly criticizing you, reminding you of your past, or telling you that you're not enough, it will wear you down. You would never talk to someone you love the way some of you talk to yourselves. Change the conversation in your head, and you'll change the direction of your life. Guarding your mind also means guarding your energy. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every opinion matters. Some people are committed to staying where they are, and if you listen to them long enough, they'll convince you to stay there too. You don't have to argue. You don't have to explain. You just have to stay focused on where you're going. Protecting your mindset sometimes means walking away quietly. Your mind believes what you repeatedly tell it. If you tell it that this year will be different and then act like it, your mind starts looking for solutions instead of excuses. If you tell it that you're capable of growth and then put in the work, your confidence grows naturally. You don't fake belief. You build it through consistent mental discipline. In 2026, the strongest habit you can develop is controlling what you allow to influence you. Feed your mind with purpose, truth, and hope. Starve it of negativity, comparison, and fear. When your mind is right, your decisions improve. When your decisions improve, your habits improve. And when your habits improve, your life has no choice but to rise. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about one of the biggest traps people fall into, and that is waiting. Waiting for the right time, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting until they feel ready. Let me help you understand something real simple. The perfect time does not exist. If you keep waiting for life to line everything up just right, you will spend your whole life standing still while time keeps moving forward without you. Most people don't fail because they tried and lost. They fail because they never really started. They kept telling themselves, next year, when things calm down, when I have more money, when I'm more confident, but life doesn't reward waiting. Life rewards movement. Progress begins the moment you decide to act, even when you're unsure, even when you're scared, even when everything isn't figured out. Fear is the reason people wait. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of looking foolish. But let me tell you something about fear. Fear never goes away before you act. Fear leaves after you act. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward while fear is still talking. And if you keep listening to fear, it will always find a reason for you to delay your destiny. You don't need all the answers to take the first step. You don't need to see the whole staircase to climb the first step. Clarity comes from action. Confidence comes from experience. Strength comes from struggle. But none of that shows up if you stay in the waiting room of life. The only way forward is to start where you are with what you have. People say they're not ready, but nobody is ever fully ready. Readiness is built, not found. You become ready by doing. You become capable by practicing. You become strong by pushing through weakness. Waiting doesn't prepare you. Action does. Every day you delay is a day you could have learned something, improved something, or moved one step closer to your goal. Let me be honest with you. Time is the one thing you can't get back. Money can be earned again. Mistakes can be corrected. But time keeps moving whether you move or not. And one of the most painful realizations in life is looking back and realizing you waited too long. You don't want to wake up one day full of regret, thinking about what you should have done when you had the chance. Starting doesn't mean you won't mess up. You will. Starting doesn't mean you won't struggle. You will. Starting doesn't mean people won't doubt you. They will. But starting means you give yourself a chance to grow, a chance to learn, a chance to win. And that chance only exists when you move. In 2026, stop asking yourself if you're ready and start asking yourself if you're willing. Willing to try, willing to fail, willing to be uncomfortable, willing to learn as you go. Because willingness beats readiness every single time. The people who succeed are not the ones who waited for perfect conditions. They are the ones who acted in imperfect conditions and refused to stop. The moment you take action, something shifts inside you. Doubt loses its grip. Confidence starts to build. Momentum begins to form. And once you have momentum, life starts responding differently to you. Doors open. Opportunities appear. Not because you waited, but because you moved. Ladies and gentlemen, let me close this message by talking to you about the one decision that separates people who make it from people who don't. And that is the decision to never quit. Talent doesn't separate people. Intelligence doesn't separate people. Even opportunity doesn't separate people as much as persistence does. The real difference is who stays in the fight when it gets hard and who walks away when it gets uncomfortable. Everybody loves the idea of success, but very few people love the process. The process is lonely. The process is slow. The process will test your patience, your faith, and your confidence. There will be days when you feel like nothing is working. Days when you wonder if all the effort is worth it. Days when quitting feels like relief. And it's in those moments that your future is being decided. Let me tell you something important. Quitting feels good in the moment, but it costs you everything in the long run. When you quit, you don't just stop working on your goal. You teach yourself that walking away is an option. And once quitting becomes a habit, it shows up everywhere in your life. But when you push through, even when you're tired, you build something powerful inside yourself. You build resilience. And resilience will carry you places motivation never could. Persistence doesn't mean you never get tired. It means you rest without giving up. It doesn't mean you never fail. It means you learn and keep moving. Some of you think that because you've been knocked down, you're done. But being knocked down is not the problem. Staying down is. Life is going to hit you. That's guaranteed. What matters is whether you get back up with the same determination you started with. Success is not about how fast you win. It's about how long you're willing to stay committed. Some blessings take time because they require growth before they arrive. If everything came easy, you wouldn't be ready to handle it. Persistence prepares you for what you're asking for. The struggle is not punishment, it's preparation. People will not always understand your journey. Some will doubt you. Some will leave. Some will criticize you. Persistence means you keep going even when support disappears. It means you believe in the vision God gave you even when no one else can see it. You don't need everyone to believe. You just need enough belief to take the next step. There will be moments when you feel like you're not making progress, but progress is not always visible. Sometimes progress is simply refusing to quit on a bad day. Sometimes progress is showing up when you feel empty. Sometimes progress is choosing faith over frustration. Those moments don't look impressive, but they are building your strength quietly. In 2026, make a promise to yourself that no matter how slow it gets, no matter how hard it feels, you will not quit. You may adjust your plan. You may change your strategy. You may take a break to breathe. But you do not walk away from your purpose. Because the moment you refuse to quit is the moment you become unstoppable. When you look back one day, you won't be proud of the days everything was easy. You'll be proud of the days you wanted to give up, but didn't. Those are the days that build character, confidence, and courage. And that is what creates a life that cannot be stopped